The story starts with a boy standing on a rooftop, thinking about whether he can end his life by jumping. As the cars move quickly below on the rainy night, he steps closer to the outer side of the railing. When he lets go of one hand, ready to jump, another boy quickly grabs his other hand, stopping him from falling. The boy saves him at the edge between life and death. As time passes, the boy asks if he is ready to change. The reply comes that it is already past 8. Seon agrees and stands up, telling the man to hurry since he has midterms next week. The invisible man calms him, calling him a nerd, and promises to be quick. As Seon goes down the stairs, the invisible voice asks about the man he is going to face and how he is. Seon explains that the guy boasts about having a black belt in Taekwondo, but he lies about everything, even claiming to be a third Dan. The invisible man assures Seon that there is nothing special about the target. However, Seon insists on being careful, pointing out that their opponent has been in many fights. The invisible man cuts in, sure that he can knock the guy out with a single hit. Seon then takes out some hair gel and applies it to his hair to change. The invisible man he is talking to turns out to be a version of himself with a different personality. He changes himself, sure that his day is going to be good again. A smirk appears on his face as he thinks about whether he should start his mission. Meanwhile, the man who is going to be Seon's target that night finds it ridiculous that his name is trending on social media. His friend confirms the news, showing him a post from the Wolf account saying that the next target is him. Shocked, the man grabs the phone to check, making sure it is really about him. He gives the phone back to his friend, asking about Wolf's real identity. His friend does not know, only saying that Wolf created his account 3 to 4 months ago using the name Wolf. He explains that Wolf posts a picture of a different gang member every week, followed by proof of their defeat soon after. While everyone knows about Wolf, no one really understands who he is. As his friend shares that Wolf's target the previous week was Jung Il from Sangyoung High, he asks if he knows Jung Il. The man, who is the target for the night, is shocked after hearing the name and asks if his friend is talking about Jung Il Kong. When his friend confirms, he adds that while Jung Il may seem like an easy target, he probably is not. His friend then shows a picture of the injured Jung Il from Wolf's account. The man grins after making sure it is really Jung Il. He leans back, smirking with confidence, saying that Wolf is just an attention seeker who probably picked the wrong target that night, claiming he could easily defeat Wolf. His confidence is cut short when another customer laughs loudly in the cafe. Turning around, he notices a man chatting and laughing with a girl. The man, sitting with 2 girls at the cafe, is actually Seon in his second personality. As Seon enjoys his time with the girls, the man who is the target for the night stands up, irritated and jealous. He watches Seon having fun with 2 girls, while he himself is stuck with his male friends. As he moves, his friends ask where he is going, only to hear that he is just heading to the bathroom. As the man uses a public bathroom, Seon walks in and stands next to him, singing while urinating. Annoyed by the singing, the man looks at Seon angrily. In response, Seon casually apologizes and mentions that one of the women Seon was talking to is interested in him. When the man asks if the girl is really interested in him, Seon assures him, saying that the man is exactly her type. He then asks if the man wants to talk to her. When the man agrees, Seon suggests they go to the parking lot, where he will tell the girl to meet him soon. Seon also says that he likes another girl, but the girl who likes the man kept getting in the way of their conversation. In the end, she admitted that she had her eyes on him. Seon adds that if the man goes to the parking lot, he will have the benefit of being alone with the other girl. When the man agrees, Seon leaves, telling him to meet the girl in the parking lot in 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, the man reaches the parking lot, only to see Seon arrive shortly after. The man looks back confused and asks Seon why he is there. Seon smirks and asks if the man does not use social media, then warns him that he should have listened to his advice about not being alone, revealing that he is Wolf. Upon hearing this, the man feels both shocked and angry, rushing toward Wolf with the thought of taking his life. However, Wolf stays calm, smirking with confidence. The man tries to kick Wolf, but Wolf expects the move and easily avoids it. Taking advantage of the moment, He punches the man in the stomach, making him stumble. Before the man regains his balance, Wolf knee-kicks him in the face, causing him to bleed. As the man steadies himself, Wolf stands firm, watching him closely. The man gathers his strength and tries to grab Wolf, pushing him back and making him fall to the ground. The man sits on Wolf and grabs him by the collar. Wolf struggles to break free and, in the process, manages to push the man back. As the man loosens his grip and curses at Wolf, Wolf quickly reacts by smashing his forehead into the man's face, making him bleed from the mouth. Wolf kicks the man in the shoulder, forcing him back and making him fall to the ground. As the man groans in pain, Wolf stands up and steps toward him. Grabbing the man's hair, Wolf kicks him in the face and remarks that the man is tougher than he thought. He then takes out a phone and jokingly says that it is photo time. He clicks a picture of the man, who is now unconscious, playfully telling him to smile. As he takes the photo, Wolf feels a sharp sensation on his forehead, realizing that the fight earlier left him with a small injury. He stands up, thinking that Mr. Nerd, Seon, might not be happy about the wound. The next morning, Seon wakes up with a dull pain in his head. Sitting up and holding his forehead, he remembers how he had clearly told Wolf not to get hurt. He walks to the mirror and checks the injury, blaming Wolf for the pain on his forehead. Wincing in discomfort, he thinks that others might find the injury suspicious. Just then, his mother calls him for breakfast, and he agrees before leaving for school. When Seon reaches school, he notices that everyone is talking about Wolf's recent defeat of a new guy, with conversations buzzing around him. Seon sits quietly alone on his bench, trying to avoid attention. Just then, a guy named Wusik walks up and pats Seon on the head, calling him a loser while asking what he is doing there. Seon greets him, and Wusik, without hesitation, says that he didn't have breakfast. He then asks Seon if he knows what he likes to eat. Wusik smirks as Seon agrees, but his expression quickly changes to anger when Seon mentions that class is about to start and suggests that he can get the food later. Wusik pats Seon angrily on the head and pushes him, insisting that he is hungry and ordering Seon to bring the food immediately. He then asks if Seon has forgotten what losers are supposed to do and warns that he might need a reminder. Seon stands up, apologizing and assuring Wusik that he will be back with the food in a few moments. Wusik smiles as he watches Seon rush toward the school snack bar, telling him to hurry, so he won't be late for class. Wusik, frustrated, mutters to himself that Seon might have good grades, but he is actually clueless. He then walks toward two other guys sitting in the classroom, asking if they feel the same way. The guys, intimidated, nervously agree with Wusik under pressure. Meanwhile, Seon hurries down the hallway to his class, carrying a pack of strawberry milk in one hand and a packet of bread in the other, when he hears a voice greet him. Realizing it is Wolf, he tells him to be quiet, reminding him that he already asked him not to talk while in school. However, Wolf says that he is annoyed and asks Seon if he should beat up Wusik for him. Seon, confirming that Wolf is talking about Wusik, listens as Wolf smirks and asks if Seon wants him to do it. Seon dismisses the idea, mentioning that Wusik will recognize him since they are in the same class. Wolf reassures him, saying that no one has recognized him yet, and that the same will happen with Wusik if the job is done in the shadows. As Seon reaches the classroom, he tells Wolf to be quiet and leave. Inside, he sees Wusik laughing and boasting about knocking down Wolf with a single blow. Seon rushes toward him just as Wusik, distracted by Wolf's post, talks to his friend about commenting on the post, suggesting that Wolf should fight him. Wusik confidently laughs, claiming that Wolf will be too scared to fight him. Seon interrupts him and hands over the food. Wusik praises him for being quick, but warns him to obey and not annoy him again next time before taking the food. Seon agrees and gives him the packet. Wusik then tells his friend to comment on Wolf's post and challenge him to a fight, just before Seon returns to his seat. As Seon sits, he glares at Wusik while Wolf asks if the next target should be Wusik. As Wolf waits for an answer, Seon remembers an incident and admits that he once liked a girl. He explains that although she lived in a different world, completely separate from his own, he fell for her the moment he saw her. One day, while the others were at P, Seon stayed behind in the classroom. Standing near Semi-Kang's desk, He picked up her shirt and smelled it, feeling a strange pleasure. Even though they existed in the same time and space, they were from different worlds, and he knew it would be impossible for them to ever meet. This realization deepened his feelings, and he began to see her as a goddess. However, before Seon could put the shirt down, the door suddenly slammed open, startling him. He turned to see Wusik and his friends standing in the doorway. Wusik entered the classroom, asking what Seon was doing alone. As he walked closer, he noticed something and asked if Seon was hiding a girl's uniform behind his back. Despite Seon's denial, they moved closer, smirking and accusing him of being a pervert who sneaked in during PE to smell a girl's bra. One of Wusik's friends pointed at the uniform, recognizing it as Semi's. Wusik shot Seon an angry look, demanding to know if it really belonged to Semi. Terrified, Seon begged Wusik and his friends to stop. Moments later, all the students entered the classroom and started talking about Seon as Wusik shared the news with everyone. Semi glared at Seon, who was naked and blindfolded with a tie, being mocked by Wusik and his friends. Embarrassed, Seon cried silently while Wusik kept taking pictures and making jokes about him. Wusik then paused, turned to Semi, and asked what they should do next, mentioning that Seon had been looking through her clothes while everyone was out for PE. As Seon trembled in fear and embarrassment, Semi looked at him and told Wusik to stop. Wusik glanced at Semi in surprise and awkwardly said that they had seen Seon handling Semi's clothes in class. Semi slammed the desk, stood up, and demanded Wusik stop again, her anger clear. She locked eyes with Wusik, who felt intimidated by her glare. Semi, feeling upset, told them to leave. Wusik, frustrated, clicked his tongue before turning to his friends and telling them to follow him. As they left the room, Wusik pushed Seon, who was still blindfolded, making him stumble and fall. As Seon tried to regain his composure and remove his blindfold, he noticed Semi standing beside him. He stopped crying and looked at Semi, who stared at him, and he started apologizing. Seon stuttered, unsure what to say, as Semi calmly handed him her underwear. She whispered that she had used it and that he should keep it. Semi then stood up and walked out of the classroom, leaving Seon deep in thought. Moments later, unable to resist his urges, Seon went to the school bathroom with Semi's underwear. After he finished and saw what he had done, shame and regret overwhelmed him. He hit his head against the wall repeatedly, crying and calling himself worthless. As he sat down in regret, he felt lost and wondered if his life had any meaning or if he would ever find a reason to keep going. The scene shifts to the present night, where Wolf fights a high school gang member. The impact of the punch sends a guy crashing into a nearby bin. Wolf tells him to get up, saying the fight won't be entertaining if it ends too soon. Grabbing the guy by the collar, Wolf smirks as the injured opponent, his mouth full of blood from a broken tooth, pleads for a pause. The guy, who earlier boasted about being a better fighter, now admits defeat. However, Wolf coldly says that he isn't ready to stop and continues punching him. A crowd of onlookers gathers, watching the fight escalate. As Wolf keeps striking the guy, he suddenly pauses when he hears two people in the crowd wondering if they should intervene, fearing he might seriously hurt the other person. Wolf drops the guy and turns toward the crowd, demanding to know who suggested stopping him. The two individuals, realizing they're the ones being overheard, nervously glance around, too intimidated to speak up. When no one answers, Wolf firmly declares that no one in the world can tell him what to do. He looks up at the sky and shouts that he will never back down from anyone who challenges him. Wolf starts leaving the area, aggressively telling the crowd to move aside. As he walks away, two guys standing at a distance notice him and comment that he will soon learn a lesson for standing out too much. One asks his friend if he should confront Wolf, but the friend advises against it, saying that Wolf will be taught a lesson soon enough. As Wolf continues walking, he starts pushing the air, lost in thoughts of Seon. He shouts for Wusik to be brought to him, making everyone around him stare in confusion. Still thinking of Seon, Wolf demands Wusik, saying he won't calm down until he defeats him. Recalling how it all began, Wolf tells Seon that if he doesn't defeat Wusik, his life at school will continue to be a mess. Wolf asks Seon if he wants to live his life like that forever. Seon grows upset as Wolf urges him to stop thinking about it and defeat Wusik. While pushing the air in frustration and thinking of Seon, Wolf shouts, demanding an answer. The people around him stare at him in confusion. As Seon hesitantly agrees, Wolf becomes pleased and says that he needed to hear it from Seon. He reassures him that this is the only way they will get through life, adding that there is no reason to live if it is not the path they choose. In a dimly lit warehouse, a crowd cheers wildly for a fighter named Demon, who faces an opponent. The opponent, with blood on his mouth, shouts in frustration and charges at Demon. Demon skillfully dodges the attack and counters with a punch to his opponent's neck. As the opponent tries to gather his strength and swings angrily, he finds that Demon easily avoids his every move. From the first-floor balcony, two spectators watch the fight. One of them, clearly bored, yawns and tells his friend Kevin that Demon's comeback is far less exciting than expected. He pulls out his phone and starts scrolling through social media, where he comes across a post from someone named Wolf. Curious, he asks Kevin if there are any new challengers recently. Meanwhile, Demon continues to block his opponent's attacks. The opponent, growing increasingly desperate, declares that his next punch will be impossible to block and rushes at Demon. However, Demon effortlessly dodges a blow and delivers a powerful punch to his opponent's face, sending him to the ground. The bored spectator, now energized, cheers loudly and tells Kevin that Wolf has a new target this week. Kevin, intrigued but skeptical, asks why his friend Rian seems so interested in Wolf, adding that Wolf is just an ordinary high schooler. Rian smirks and casually replies that there's no particular reason, but admits he hasn't seen anyone as crazy as Wolf. He hints that there's something about Wolf he wants to figure out. As the match ends, the referee announces Demon as the winner of that night's pounding club fight, and the crowd erupts in applause. The next day at Seon's school, Wusik practices boxing with his friend, who holds his palms out as targets, smirking playfully. As Wusik demonstrates how to take down an opponent, he suddenly punches his friend in the stomach and tells him to aim for the body during a fight. His friend groans in pain, complaining about the unexpected hit. Wusik just shrugs, saying that he did it on purpose because practicing without real impact doesn't feel realistic. Frustrated, he complains that he can't train properly this way. Then, with a sly grin, Wusik turns towards Seon and says that their class conveniently has a human punching bag. He calls out to Seon, telling him to come over. Seon hesitates for a moment and turns to confirm if they're talking to him. Wusik nods and says that he's feeling stressed and needs to throw some punches to blow off steam. He asks Seon, with a mocking tone, if he'd be happy to help him relieve his stress. Seon awkwardly stands up, reluctantly agreeing, knowing full well that refusing Wusik isn't an option. Before Seon can approach Wusik, one of Wusik's gang members rushes in from the hallway, opening the door and shouting his name. Wusik turns around at the sound, seeing his friend panting and leaning against the door. Wusik asks what's wrong, and his friend shows him his phone, pointing to the screen. He says that Wolf has uploaded a new post, announcing that Wusik will be his next target. As Wusik looks at the photo closely, he becomes angry, wondering if Wolf is out of his mind. His friend agrees and points out that Wolf updated Wusik's picture and name the previous day, revealing that Wusik is now the next target. Wusik scans the comments and sees people excited about the idea of him getting beaten up. He smirks awkwardly, trying to hide his fear. He says that it's a good thing and adds that it's a great opportunity to show everyone who he really is. However, Semi suddenly shouts in frustration and tells Wusik to be quiet. Wusik, startled, turns to see her standing up and glaring at him. She commands him to stop being so loud and approaches him, revealing that she is actually trying to study. Wusik gets nervous as Semi glares directly into his eyes. She says that she knows he's scared after being posted by Wolf. Wusik denies it, but Semi asks if he shouldn't be out looking for Wolf instead of talking about it in school. With certainty, she suggests that Wolf is probably waiting for him outside the school. She then takes her leave and asks if he agrees with her. As Semi walks out of class, Wusik gets angry and mutters to himself that she thinks she's invincible just because she's Ju's girlfriend. He curses under his breath and grabs his bag, insisting that he isn't scared of Wolf at all. Slipping the bag over his shoulder, he claims that he'll show Semi that he isn't afraid. In a burst of frustration, he slams the door behind him, His friends rush toward him and try to stop him, but Wusik ignores him and storms out of the classroom. As they all leave, Seon sits back down at his desk. By chance, his eyes fall on Semi's notebook, which is filled with random scribbles. Just then, he hears Wolf's voice, commanding him to follow Wusik and saying that this is their only chance. Wolf doubts that he is uncertain about taking his revenge and tries to convince him by reminding him that the only reason he's still alive is because of Wolf. Wolf leans toward him, urging him to follow Wusik and promising to crush him that night. Seon soon decides to leave the class and approaches the door. As he reaches for the handle, Semi enters from the other side. Seeing her, he feels awkward and looks down at the floor. When he tries to leave, she stops him and asks if he can teach her some math later. He nervously asks if she's referring to him, and she confirms. He asks again if she's really going to study math, and she leans forward, angrily asking if a girl like her isn't qualified to study. He awkwardly disagrees and quickly clarifies that he didn't mean it that way. Semi starts to leave, still angry, and tells him to forget what she said. As he watches her leave, Wolf's voice commands him again to go and follow Wusik. Hearing Wolf's voice, he flinches. Wolf asks if he really wants to teach Semi math, and he stutters while denying it. Wolf tells him to forget about it and follow Wusik, promising to put an end to everything that night. While Wusik is wandering the streets, searching for Wolf, he glances at people walking by but finds nothing but disappointment, unaware of Wolf's appearance. As he continues walking, he suddenly hears a voice saying that they found him. He stops in his tracks when someone else adds that they never thought they would actually find him. He turns around and sees his friends fighting with each other. Feeling relieved, he realizes that it wasn't Wolf who had addressed him. As his friends continue to argue, Wusik becomes angry and orders him to stop fighting on the street. In a fit of frustration, he grabs one of his friend's collars, just as Rion, who happens to be passing by, catches their attention. Rion wonders if they're fighting and looks at Wusik, who angrily pushes his friend away, causing them to flee. Rion takes out his phone and realizes that it's the same guy who was posted by Wolf. Casually slurping his drink, he smirks as he notices it's Wusik. Wusik starts to walk away, but then Rion notices a boy wearing a mask, looking around as if searching for someone. He gets excited, thinking it might be Wolf. He decides to follow, finding the situation interesting and playfully wondering if he has time to grab popcorn before the fight starts. As Wolf gets too close to Wusik, Seon advises him to keep a safe distance to avoid being caught. However, Wolf isn't interested in mercy and replies that he doesn't care if Wusik loses his life that day. Wolf continues to follow Wusik, and Seon warns him to turn down a nearby lane, pointing out that at a narrow pathway with no crowd, unlike the busy street they're currently walking on. He doubts that Wusik might recognize Wolf during the fight, but Wolf ignores Seon's advice and dashes toward Wusik from behind. Rion, watching from a distance, is shocked. He thought that Wolf only fought face-to-face. As Wolf quickly approaches Wusik, Seon orders him to stop. But Wolf, remembering past incidents with Seon, calls out to Wusik. Just as Wusik looks back at Wolf, he kicks him in the back, causing him to stumble and crash into a bench outside a restaurant. Watching this, Rion is shocked and questions what is wrong with Wolf. As Wusik tries to get up, confused about who kicked him, Wolf kicks him in the face, making him bleed. Wusik curses at Wolf, but Wolf places his foot on Wusik's face and starts kicking him. Wusik tries to crawl away, shouting for help, but Wolf rushes toward him and forcefully kicks him in the face, causing him to slip. Wolf angrily glares at Wusik, removes his mask, and curses before sitting on top of him. As he sits on Wusik, who is lying on the ground, Wolf pulls his hair back, making Wusik cry out in pain. He begins punching Wusik in the face, intending to take his life. While Wolf continues mercilessly punching him, the crowd starts taking out their phones to record the incident. Seon notices and advises Wolf to put his mask back on, realizing that people have started filming. However, Wolf ignores Seon and keeps punching Wusik. As Rion watches Wolf grab a chair and angrily throw at Wusik, he becomes furious. Seon advises Wolf to stop, but Wolf ignores him and angrily looks around for more objects to use against Wusik. Spotting a bench, Wolf approaches it, grabs it, and lifts it above his head. just as he prepares to smash the bench down on Wusik. Rion appears out of nowhere and kicks the bench away, leaving Wolf in shock. Wolf angrily glares at Rion and demands to know who he is. Rion casually explains that he got upset watching Wolf attack Wusik from behind. He adds that he got angry seeing Wolf continue to hurt a guy who is already unconscious. Rion glares at Wolf and asks if he intends to take Wusik's life. Wolf, unhinged and furious, claims that he does and warns Rion that he will lose his own life too if he tries to stop him. However, Rion remains unafraid and tells Wolf that he is different from what he thought. He explains that he initially saw Wolf as a fighter, but now realizes that Wolf is just crazy, not a true fighter. Rion turns around and begins to walk away, stating that Wolf can do whatever he wants because he doesn't care at all. Before leaving the area, he encounters a guy from the crowd who is filming the incident and advises him to call the police instead of recording, warning that Wusik might actually lose his life. Wolf suddenly turns to Rion and charges at him, angrily ordering him to stop. Rion looks back at Wolf, who is attempting to punch him. He easily dodges the punch and counters with a hit to Wolf's stomach. He doesn't stop there and lands another punch to the side of Wolf's stomach. As Wolf grunts in pain, Rion prepares to punch him in the chin, but stops. He advises Wolf to choose his opponents more wisely next time, warning that he won't let him off the hook next time. Wolf becomes enraged as Rion reveals that what Wolf is doing isn't a game. He adds that there are real games out there, far more dangerous, and Wolf isn't aware of them. As Rion starts walking away, Wolf falls to the ground and angrily commands him to stop. He yells at Rion, trying to catch his attention. Rion glances back at Wolf and is shocked to see him still struggling to get up after being beaten. Despite his difficulty standing, Wolf continuously demands that Rion stop. Soon enough, Wolf falls to the ground, exhausted and unable to continue fighting. Rion sighs in relief, watching as Wolf gives up. The next day, Seon goes to school despite the pain in his stomach from last night's fight. As he walks through the school gate, he clutches his stomach, realizing that the pain is too intense for him to bear. When he reaches the classroom, he overhears his classmates talking about the incident from the previous night. As he listens to students murmuring about the leaked video, he is shocked to learn that the fight between Wusik and Wolf has already been made public. Seon pulls out his phone to check and stares at the screen, confirming that it is indeed the video of Wusik and Wolf's fight. He plays the video and is shocked to see how Wolf attacked Wusik from behind. As he scrolls through the comments, he is stunned by the amount of hate directed at Wolf. The students continue discussing the video, and Seon soon overhears that the matter has been reported to the police. He calms himself down, telling himself that there's nothing to worry about since no one will recognize him, considering how poor the video quality is. However, even though he has created his account using an email from a foreign website, he still feels a bit scared. He reassures himself, thinking that everything will be fine as long as they don't recognize him. He glances behind him in the classroom and sees the students still discussing the incident. Feeling uneasy, he quickly turns his head forward. Moments later, the teacher announces that Wusik has been hospitalized due to an unfortunate incident that occurred the previous night. Although the incident took place outside the school, the teacher explains that it is still the school's responsibility to take care of its students. He adds that the police investigation is underway and asks the students to come forward with any information about the person Wusik met yesterday. He requests that anyone who knows the identity of the attacker share it privately.